You're listening to The Kelly Slusher Show with your host, Kelly Slusher. Well, hello. Oh my gosh, everybody. It's 2024. I'm so excited. It's only about a week into it, and a week into 2024, and I actually didn't think I was going to be able to even have this episode recorded for much longer. But as it happens to be, I moved and I relocated to a different area entirely. I mean, within a certain amount of distance. It's not so far, but I did relocate. So moving, how do we get so much stuff? Like, I even got rid of so much stuff last year, and I still was just over my head with stuff. And it was insane. And so I was living in a place that I did not like. I never talk about this stuff, but I don't want to get too personal, and I want this podcast to be very upbeat, but I didn't like where I was living at all. I pretended it was fine, but it was definitely a temporary, it was very temporary. I knew that, but didn't quite know where I wanted to move and live. So here I am. I got a little spot. It's the Kelly Slusher headquarters. It's adorable. I love it. I'm in the woods. I'm broadcasting live from the woods, and I love it. I'm a little fairy girl. I was born in a very small town, and I was raised in the woods. I mean, that was basically until I was 9 years old, and so it's such a big part of, I think, my psyche and functioning. I have to have forest around me. Yet you don't want to be too far from a more metropolitan area. Okay, so as I had told you guys if you were listening to my very last podcast of the year of 2023, I said to you, whatever you do, have a good New Year's Eve, but do not wake up on the 1st with a hangover. I mean, it's just like, you don't want to do that, have a good time on New Year's Eve, spending it, I may have said this, but spending even a lovely evening at home, you don't have to go rage and party, and, you don't ever want to wake up throwing up. Well, guess what? I did that. I did what I said not to do. I went out on New Year's Eve, and I wasn't sure what to do. I mean, part of it was because I didn't really want to be where I was at, because I was getting ready to move, and I was in a really weird place. And so I didn't want to bring in the New Year's with that bad vibe. So I contacted one of my good friends, and she happened to they gave her the night off, and it was on. She's like, oh my gosh, oh yes, let's hang out. And I'm like, okay. So then we end up going to her friend's house, and who is one of the most freaking hilarious, and it was just like a laugh fest the whole time. These are my fun, laughy friends, and he's got his own production studio, and I mean, I'm sure I can say what it is. I'm sure I'll be talking more about this as it all unfolds. Anyway, it was fun to meet. I had met him. He went to my show. She had brought him to my show. It's her childhood friend, and he's really goofy. So she brought him to my show, and afterwards, 2 weeks ago, we went and we hung out and stuff, and I was like, okay, this person seems kind of like a kindred spirit, really goofy, doesn't mind make a fool out of himself, and he does acting and stuff like that. So I love that. So anyway, we all hung out, and we went. She was driving. She picked me up. I knew I wasn't going to have to drink, or I'm sorry, I knew I wasn't going to have to drive. So she picks me up, and we go over to his place, and starts off with some vodka. I don't even, so it's vodka was the drink. that I started with. And you don't want to, you really get sick if you mix it all up. So you want to stick with one thing and go with that. At least for me, that's my rule. It didn't work this time, but hey, I think the rule is you can have whatever you want, but if you keep drinking that, it's not going to help you in the morning. So, then we hop in an Uber, which was like one of the funnest Uber rides I've ever had, because the Uber driver was really fun, and he what kind of music want to play? And then it was a fun party. We were just laughing our buns off in the car ride, and they were blasting the funniest music, and we were driving down to Sacramento, and the Kings had just won. So there was that big purple beam that they light up, and that was just so amazing. There's this huge laser beam when they win. So it just had a really good, happy vibe going on. So we get there, and we wait in line to this place called the Cabin, and we're waiting and waiting. I'm like, are we really ever going to get in here? It's 20 minutes before and so the joke was he entertained us. He's like, oh my goodness, 20 minutes until the time changes. The time is going to change. The big deal. It's going to go from 1159 to 1200. New year, new me. And it was just so funny. And we're just standing there, and then this group of people tried to cut, and I vibed. I was doing the vibe thing where you vibe them out. Not in a mean. You don't have to. The vibe thing for me is not about being mean, but it's about don't. And then they walk away. They felt my vibe. And then lo and behold, I don't know how this happened. It's me and Heather, and then Treeman. I guess that's how I can't remember how to say his name. Treeman, Tremin. Let's call him Treeman. Goofy friend. He kind of gets. He just says something to the door guy, and then the guy points at us two ladies. And they let the two ladies in. And I guess, you got to have the ladies in there. And so we walk in and stuff. And then there's this guy walks in. He's got this stupid mustache. And I guess Heather, we're walking in. It's kind of crowded. And this guy's like, oh, hey, I love your jacket. And I guess I didn't realize I had done this, but I didn't like him. And so my friend Heather was just laughing because she said the look on my face was just yeah, keep on moving. I don't like guys like that. He had that oh, I'm such a romantic man. But he had another, as he's got a woman on, both, he's one of those guys, and I'm just get out of my face. So then it's just funny. And then we order drinks, and then there's these two guys sitting at the counter playing Battleship. Hey, you want to go down to the cabin, and in New Year's, I'm playing Battleship. I sunk your battleship. Meanwhile, we're all just having so much fun. And then he had Tree Man. He had these lit up. He bought these lit up shoes, so they're battery powered, and so the soles had they were lit up, and so wherever he walked, of course he was everyone kept hugging him, dude, that's so cool, and he's new year, new me. Yeah, I wish I could. Okay, yeah, no, I'm gonna be making comedy with that person because he's so freaking funny and silly, and I love, like I said, I love when people aren't afraid to make fools out of themselves, because that's what comedy is. You can't be it's no holding back. So then there's just all this weird stuff that's happening, and then basically, great people watching, really weird people watching, and so I was trying to convince. So he kept saying "New Year, new me," and I was like, "Oh, go up to some find some girls, some attractive girls, and be like, 'New Year, new me,' and why it's a New Year, new me. Tell them it's because it's you're not gonna do any more of that offshore banking, and But if for some reason, I thought that was hilarious. New year, new me. I'm not going to do any more offshore banking. My investments are going to be, just super nerdy. And then, okay, so we kept drinking. So the first drinks were these he orders Sex on the Beach. And like when you're in a really busy area, and like I just kind of went with it, and he hands us this, and he's like handing it to us, and I knew what this was, and most people know what Sex on the Beach is. It's a mixed drink. So he hands our drinks, and then there's these like younger fellas. I mean, like they look like they barely have ever been into a bar. It was like their first, wow, that looks good. What's that? And I was like, Sex on the Beach. And he looks at me like, okay. I'm like, it's a mixed drink, I think it's got a bunch of stuff. So anyway, we're drinking, and Heather doesn't want to drink because it's, it's New Year's. She has to, because it's New Year's. No, she wants to be, smart, not get a DUI. Or maybe she wasn't feeling it, but so of course there's all these, and I keep sipping, and drinking, and it's so sweet and it tastes so good, and then before I know it, more drinks are being set in front of me, and I'm like, oh, why not? When in Rome, and so I was having a lot of fun, and then the time changed, and then the party was really on, and so all I know is the jokes were happening. My side was like, I got a lot of muscle exercises. And then we went back to his apartment, and then there was more shots that happened. And then ate pizza, and me and Heather went home. She drove me home. I woke up the next morning to vomit in the bathroom sink, which I do now. And I was like, oh yeah, I did that, huh? I came home, and vomited in the bathroom sink. And where I was living, it was a hallway sink, so it wasn't just my personal sink, but it was one that only I really used. But there was vomit, and I had taken like toilet paper. No, it was tissue, toilet facial tissue, whatever it's called, and Kleenex. And I had taken it, and I was like swirling it, trying to clean it up, and throwing it into the garbage can and missing the garbage can. So there was like pieces, there was just like Kleenex that were soaking wet, just dangling over the garbage can. And then in the sink, it was just, it had drained out. So it was vomit. I couldn't believe it. And I woke up, and I was like, oh my gosh, I said not to do this, and here I am. I was freaking puking. I puked like probably the first, at least till like 3 o'clock in the day. Throw up, puke, dry heaves, couldn't keep anything down, and just could not believe that. It would have been lame anyway, because I hate being drunk. I hate being, like really, really drunk. I just don't like that feeling. And then I don't like, of course, being sick on New Year's Day. Like I'm like, oh, what does this mean, huh? What does this mean? Is this year going to be like this? But I thought about my last year, what I did. I was dog sitting. I was in Arizona, and I was dog sitting for somebody. So I had this mini, what was it called? A Chiweenie. I was dog sitting a Chiweenie, and that's how I brought in my New Year's last year. So it was tame. I didn't do anything. I woke up fine, and 2023 was one of the hardest years of my life. It was very transformative, and I started this podcast, and I can't complain about that. There was amazing things that happened, but there were like some of the hardest things that happened. So maybe me waking up with, puke in the sink and puking some more that day, all day. And it will be a good thing for me. For me, I'm thinking, okay, maybe it's not bad luck, but I don't think so. It's just usually, I don't know, I always think it's not a good thing to wake up to do that. So here I am telling you about that. So now I am a new year. I am a new me. It's a new year. It's a new me. I'm in a new environment. Thank the Lord, because I was in a really icky environment with a very inappropriate living situation with somebody who was much older than me, and he fancied me, and it took me a long time to realize that's what was happening, because you'll hear me talking on my previous episodes about I am in this housing situation, and I had my own little space, and It really felt like it was my own, because I was in the back and I didn't have to, but at the same time I'd have to like go to the kitchen and stuff. And then, so I hated going to the kitchen. So I ate a lot of sandwiches. So it was not a healthy way to live. And I was very not quite sure where to go. And I knew not to stay there, but it was just a stepping stone. All last 2023, everything was a stepping stone. I lived in 5 places. I moved 5 times. It was all stepping stones to get to where I'm at now. And it's all seeming to manifest like, oh, okay, now it's starting to make sense. That's why I went through all that. Anyway, so yay, I hope you guys had a good New Year's, and hopefully you didn't wake up the way I did. And the other thing that's kind of funny is I clogged, like the bathroom sink was a little clogged after that, because I must have, little chunks must have gone down there. But I did unclog it to be nice. Anyway, so, okay. Oh, this is something I was thinking about that I think is really funny. And I'm sure, like, you guys have, like, I'm sure you've seen it. When people like wine, they're really into wine. They drink wine. I only drink it after 5. I drink it around 5:15. Gotta have my wine. And it's a thing. It's supposed to be good for your heart. It's fine. I don't have a problem with it. I wouldn't want to every day go home and drink a glass of wine. That's just not something my body doesn't like. Consistently want alcohol in my system. I don't drink a lot. I have it sometimes. And when I do have it, the wine has to be like no cheaper than a $50 bottle of wine. Like, it's got to be, that's like the lowest. It's got to be expensive wine. If you've ever had, really expensive wine, it's hard to go back to, the Trader Joe's wine that you get for $3.99 or, or whatever. Like, even, because there are some, oh no, they're great wine. Yeah, they're great. But if you had that $200 bottle of wine, yeah, how do you go back to the cheaper stuff? So to me, I'd rather just not even have it. Okay, so wine, I've seen it in some people's houses, like that I know, and like there's people like the older generation, I would say, or like the moms and the aunts and the, people like that. They always have their little wine sayings, at least one in the kitchen, or it'll be somewhere in the house. And I started thinking, oh, that'd be kind of funny to read off different wine things, because they're always like, it's like this, they're sassy. They've got their sassy wine sayings, like you'll see like a plaque or something and it'll say like, liquid therapy. Ever feel like you've had too much wine? Me neither. You had me at Marlowe. Sip happens. Quick, call Wine 11. My glass is empty. We'll trade boyfriend for wine. And then one that says, at my age, I need glasses. And it's like a bunch of wine glasses. Boss lady fuel. Dinner is poured. This wine seriously makes me the bomb diggity. I don't know what that. Okay. A day without wine is like ... Just kidding. I have no idea. Another one. Mommy juice. There's so many. Like someone, and they're so funny. They just make me laugh so hard. Like they're so silly. Let's see. My birthstone is a wine cork. The best wines are the ones we drink with friends. Okay, that's kind of not even funny, but it's kind of cheesy. Let me drink about it. Mama needs her wine. I make wine disappear. What's your superpower? Whine a little, laugh a lot. Hey, look, it's wine o'clock. Jesus touched my water. Wine is my love language. Stay hydrated. And it's like a glass of wine. Trust me, you can dance. And it's like / wine. Like the wine's telling you. And just a girl who loves wine. Drink happy thought. Anyway, I thought those were really funny. What else happened? So much has happened. New year, new me. New year, new me, baby. Let's do a sample. Let's do a sample of what it sounded like. Here's a little New Year's Eve sample when the time changed. Okay, that was when the time changed. And then this is me really, really, really drunk. I'm now at the entrance. We're waiting to leave. And there's this bear, like a bear skin on the wall. Like it's definitely always there. It's part of their decor. But they put a wine bottle in its mouth. And I thought it was funny, and I was also hamming it up because Heather, like, how can I explain? Thinks I'm really funny. I think she's super funny, but I can entertain her, and she laughs. She's like always laughing. This is where our friendship started. We worked together, and we would have a lot of jokes and giggles, laughing at work, and so we stayed friends. And so she eggs it on, I would say, and so I love that. And so here's me. That's me laughing at the thing. I was so drunk. I'm so glad I have my wits about me when I'm drunk, though. Enough that no one's gonna, I felt pretty safe. Okay, I have to share this story. So, I was at an open mic, and I'm not going to say where because I love this place and I really respect what they do. But this one person showed up, and he's probably never going to show up to this place again. He probably thought I know what this person was thinking. He was like, a bunch of sappy songwriters, a bunch of sappy singers. I'm going to show them real music. So at this place, people are so nice. Like, everyone's really supportive, and that's why you can go there and know that you could be super talented or you could not have much. But no matter what it is, they're going to applaud you, and they're going to watch you and be supportive. So it's a really good place for this, you can feel safe. So this guy comes in, and I'm sitting there waiting, and he comes and he sits on the couch kind of next, on the same couch as me, but on the opposite end. And I already felt his vibe, and I was like, this guy's gonna really bug me. And he had his like stupid guitar. He was a total rocker guy, so he had like his long hair, and he had his dumb little guitar, and he was like he was practicing unplugged, he was warming up. He's like warming up. He's warming up. He's like, noodling around with this cocky look on his face that like, where they like, you take your face and scrunch it up, like the rocker guys do. And he just thought he was like, and he was egomania. It was like ego was just pouring out, like he was like the best. And we were just these like, please, these like losers, and that was the energy. And of course, I don't care. You can think I'm a loser, whatever. I'm not in that stage in my life where I care. So I'm sitting there, I'm just kind of like keeping to myself, kind of laughing, kind of hoping he didn't notice me, because those kind of rocker guys, tend to notice me, like they like my look or whatever. I was just like, dude, like if you even look twice at me, keep looking, because I'm never going to be attracted to you, so whatever. Okay, so all these people play, they perform, and everyone sings their like lovely songs, and then it's his turn, and he's sitting on the couch, and they announce him, and the host is so kind too. He's like, okay, what do we have now? And the guy announces from the couch, he goes, are you ready to get your faces melted off? And then the host was like, okay, are you getting ready to get your faces melted off? Okay, everybody. And he introduces him. And it takes a guy like 10 minutes to set up. So finally when he sets up and he's like, okay, sorry about that. I know that all of this, that you songs were lovely and everything that you guys just played and everything, all these songs, everything was just lovely and nice. But I'm getting ready to destroy that. So then he proceeds to put on pre-recorded music from another band. Like, I think that was Wasp was the first one. And that's like if you don't know who that is, that's like a rocker band from the 80s, and they're just butt rock, And so he's playing this, and he's just, all he's doing is sitting there, like, so you can, over the speakers, it's another band, and he's playing along to it. He's shredding, he's ripping. So he's like doing that, and then like he does like the lead, and I will give him that he could shred. He was like, he was able to get all the right notes and do it right, and time and all that stuff, and fast. And then, of course, everyone applauds, and then he does it. You get 2 songs, so he did another one, and he's like doing the hair thing and the crappy face thing, and the whole time he's like kind of mouthing the words, and he's not really singing along, and he sits in front of the mirror doing this, and he's like, I am a rock god. So he basically felt like we were like, oh my gosh, this is real music. I've been writing music for all these years, and I'm a songwriter, and I've got albums out, and I've done all this stuff, and and that's me. But like, there's other people that maybe they're still like sit there and play and they sing. It's their passion. That's why I love going to this place. It's a bunch of musicians, and then he goes there with just minimal talent. And he really thought that we were like going to be like, I don't even, what? I'm done with music. I'm walking away. He just showed us up. He showed me exactly what I wasn't. And I will never be a rock god like that guy. So then like maybe a few acts later, I get up and I play. And I did, kind of destroyed what he just destroyed. So that was really funny. This other thing that's interesting, I find interesting, is that, so I'm a musician. I'm an artist. I feel like I dabble more in the arts. That's not like my main thing, but I definitely paint and I make collages. I shouldn't underestimate myself. I'm from a family of, my dad's an artist, and my other thing is acting. So I do music, I do art, and I do acting. And it's interesting because I hang out with musicians. It's a certain type of people, certain energy, certain vibe. Musicians are a certain way, and they're my people, and we understand each other. And then if I hang out with like artists, like painters and sculptors, or that's a whole other vibe. They're more eccentric, and but they're still art. It's still artistic, and so it's artsy, and there's that kind of vibe when you hang out with just like an artist, and there's that artist vibe. And then there's the actor vibe. There's the people who do the performing arts, and that's a whole other kind of, it's a different way of expressing yourself. And that's interesting. That's a whole other, because that goes into being extroverted more. And so I think, that scares a lot of introverts. I have both. I'm extroverted, introverted person, so I can relate. I used to be incredibly introverted. And then by just, I don't know, I stopped caring a lot. And I still have to nurture that little girl, not little girl, my inner child or whatever, like the one who wants to be shy. I have to, pep talk her sometimes, because I don't really like to look like a fool, believe it or not. But it's like, that's part of it. You have to let go, and you have to, that's what entertainers are. And so if you ever hang out with like thespians, and that's a whole other world. And I find that really fascinating that, there's these 3 different creative types, ways to express yourself. There's probably more, but I'm just putting for myself because I can relate to all 3 of them, that when I hang out with these different groups, they're all creative, but they're all different. A lot of musicians don't have visual skills, which you'll notice this because they're musicians. If you're a full musician, I'm a musician is what I do. They don't, here, go paint me a picture. That's not normally, no, that's not what they do. They're musicians. And that's why a lot of times when they come out to, like they're making their album art and stuff, you better hire someone because, dude, that looks like crap. I mean, how many times I've seen that, make a flyer, you're like, you need to hire someone or get a friend who knows how to actually what composition and color or, or whatever, make it look good, make it look eye-catching and make it, and then when, so anyway, it's just, I thought that was really interesting, the dynamics of these 3, but they're kind of similar, we're all similar because we're creative, but yeah, I have a lot of fun when I meet people who do acting, and I'm not afraid to understanding what improvising is, and understanding I can bring an idea up to somebody and they can, they understand that I'm in. It's like you go into make-believe world and they can understand that, So now here I am at the end of this very first episode of the year of 2024. And I want to do this year, I've got a lot of plans, and I'm going to just keep doing this type of format. Although I have some ideas, and I have a friend who does radio, and we're talking about future stuff. He sets up radio stations all around the United States. And there's a little lo-fi stuff, which I think is really neat because there's just so much, there's not a lot of that anymore. And so yeah, he sets up little signals on the radio stations. And so to be doing more like that, I don't know. Anyway, future stuff, have people call in and, just the future could be really fun with this. And so for now, this is going to be my episode. I don't have a sketch for you or anything silly like that. That will be made. But for now, this is it. Thank you for listening. And I'm going to leave you now with a clip from one of my songs. It's a newer song. It's called Places I Don't Belong. Little sample. And if you like it, it's available on Bandcamp and iTunes and all the good places where they stream music. And all right, we'll talk to you guys later. Okay, bye. Looking for love in places I don't belong. Looking for love in places I don't belong. Scanning through the radio, pull me from this undertow. How do I no longer get enmeshed with you? I cannot go on this way. You're standing right there in my way. I need to see exactly who I am again. Looking for love in places I don't belong. I was looking for love in places I don't belong. Scanning through the radio,